All right, everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel of the 1216 podcast, and this is the manga section review for chapter 1120 titled Atlas. We start off by one saying that with the name Atlas, we all know how that goes pretty much. If a character name pops up, it's pretty much like that person's done for. So I'm expecting that Atlas, of course, is going to be the one who perishes, which came out to be true throughout this title. When I first started reading it, we know that it's supposed to be there's two Stellas left, Lilith and Atlas, that are holding back York from being the only Stella that's needed for the Gurusei to have on their side. That's something to be said. With this title, Atlas, does that mean that pretty much meant that Atlas is going to either die or join the Straw Hats? 9 times out of 10, which came true, Atlas does perish this chapter. That's heartbreaking. But to get right into the chapter itself, we start off with the awesome cover art of Yamato and Denjiro having a conversation as Denjiro routed up and tied the kids up that was throwing the rocks at Yamato because Yamato was a part of Kaido's group. Not really a part of it, but because Yamato was Kaido's child. And that's all they see Yamato as a Oni. So we have that being the cover art, which is nice to see because Yamato's adventures are about to get serious soon. But we get right into the chapter itself, starting off 26 years ago at Punk Hazard. At Punk Hazard, we have a conversation between two of the world's greatest minds, between a scientist and the archaeologist. Now, the scientist itself has to be is Dr. Vegapunk, and the archaeologist, of course, is Professor Clover. So Professor Clover comes up to Dr. Vegapunk and starts to ask Vegapunk questions like, would you help me uncover the secrets of the Void Century? Now that is a huge ask to ask for. And Dr. Vegapunk is looking on in shock like, I really can't do that. You know I work for the government now. This isn't a good idea. But because Clover knows something that Vegapunk does not know at the time being, he can't do anything but help Ags. The thing that Clover knows is that people with the name D inside of their name are going to be targets of the world government during this time. That is because Clover himself, his brother, died in front of him. Clover had to watch his brother die right before his very eyes without any warning, all because he had the initial D in his name. His brother's name is Cloudy Clover, and Cloudy Clover is the brother of Professor Clover, meaning that Professor Clover has a D inside of his name. Well, did, because now he's perished along with his brother. Vegapunk refuses to do this, even though the voices of the past need to be heard. Vegapunk does not want to be the one who rattles the feathers of the world government just yet. Now we go on to move up 4 years, 22 years before the current timeline. 22 years ago, we know that the island of Ohara was wiped out by a buster call from the Marines. Caesar Clown himself is sitting inside there laughing, saying that, yes, no one should ever dare to study the Void Century again. The perfect example to scare them all away from doing this is with this buster call. And Dr. Vegapunk, we know how close he was with Professor Clover and the archaeologists that were on Ohara. Dr. Vegapunk looks at a mysterious wanted poster of a young lady named Nico Robin. She escaped, the only one to have escaped. We know that Nico Robin is going to be key. She is the last Oharan scholar alive. So as Vegapunk pays his respects, he starts crying, and of course he knows that you did all of this when you could have ran away. You know you had time to, but you wanted to protect Clover. You wanted to protect the history and research until your death. History, of course, we all know is told by the winners. And as we look on to see, Vegapunk's message is getting through to people. Zeph shows it as he's listening on in the Baratier. We have people of the world government that's inside prisons that's listening on to this, as well as Nico Robin, who of course is the last survivor of the O'Hara incident. But as Nico Robin is sitting on there, we have bigger matters to attend to. We have Ethan Buren coming up, one of the gurus say, to try to stop the ship from setting sail. And Zoro is shouting out, "Shoot us off already. Get ready. We have to go now." But Lilith strikes some sense into him, saying that if they were to go right now, that Ethan would just do anything in his power to shoot them off course, what could cause them to crash on ground and probably all die. We have to stop Ethan before we can set sail. Lilith is screaming and yelling and knows that something has to happen. In a snap of a second, Atlas strikes Lilith, knocking Lilith unconscious and knocking her satellite out of the Stella's range for just a little bit. They look on and wonder, why is Atlas doing this? Why did you knock out Lilith? And it's to save her. Atlas looks at the Straw Hat crew and says, take care of her, because she's going to be the one who flies and removes this obstacle. And York, of course, gets the shortened out because notification, basically, that sees that Lilith is no longer with them, that it's only Atlas who remains. So Zoro quickly takes Lilith inside, and Atlas jumps off the flower directly towards Ethan, who's coming towards him. As the ship gets ready to set sail, Jinbei has to now put it and go, and Zoro tells Brook immediately to do it. It's time to hit the Kuda. And as they get inside that, they see Atlas's arm gets cut right off. But Atlas does not stop there. Atlas circles back around, spins the block, and grabs Ethan yet again with the other arm that's not cut off yet. Burst! And sends them all flying. As they get sent flying through the sky, this trajectory that they're on right now still needs a little more oomph behind it. But we cut over to see what's going down on the ground, as the giant iron robot has now arrived and is talking to Luffy and says, "Joy Boy, I'm so happy to see you again." But Luffy's confused. Who is this Joy Boy you're talking of? I'm not Joy Boy. I don't know who this person is. He gets to looking around because he just doesn't know. But the iron robot says, "I'm talking to you." Tells Luffy to go ahead, that your enemy is my enemy, and that yet again, he's so happy to fight alongside Joy Boy. And Luffy just seems looking on like, wow, this is awesome. You can really talk. Joy Boy is in danger. I must protect him, the iron robot says. But Luffy hears everything, but nobody else does. The giants of Elbaf look on and they ask Straw Hat, "What are you talking about? What's going on? Is he on our side or not?" And he says, yeah, he wants to protect somebody named Joy Boy, whoever that is. But nobody can hear it because the voice of all things lies within Luffy and a select few throughout the One Piece world. So we now have the Iron Giant and Atlas protecting the crew so the crew can get away. But as the Iron Giant gets ready for an attack, because now we have one of the gurus say that's inside of a sandworm form comes up, the giant robot takes his stance and tries to use his powers, but cannot activate them because it's been 900 years. You are rusted out now. This is something that you cannot do. The robot is now in trouble. He has his arm caught inside the mouth of one of the gurus say, and of course Peter is not going to let go. As Jupiter has the Iron Giant's arm locked down, we see Jay Garcia fly back in the background and land on top of the Elbaf ship, looking on at Kuma and Bonnie. He knows that they must both be eliminated. But Sanji looks up, and as he's looking at Jay Garcia, he looks in the background and sees the Sunny flying through the sky. "Hang on tight," Zoro screams out. "We're going to make it." And Ethan looks on at Atlas still as Atlas is holding on tight and says, "You're going to sacrifice yourself?" Atlas's last words is, "Nope. Extra service on the house." And self-destructs inside of a Majin Vegeta faction as Majin Vegeta took out one of the Boos, well, tried to at least, when he self-imploded himself. Atlas does this move, which sends a little bit more shockwaves towards the Sunny, as the Sunny will now make their trip. The Sunny is flying through the sky. It's going to land. Ethan now has his head cut open just a little bit from the rattles of what just happened. People are looking on like, this can't end like that. No, Atlas. But yes, Atlas did one hell of a job sacrificing herself in order to save everybody. And York is looking on just laughing, saying, now that Atlas gone, I'm the only Vegapunk left in this world. Little old me. But Ethan reminds her, and Jay Garcia reminds her, and the rest of the group say remind her that this job is not done. We still need to handle this Iron Giant and knock this signal out completely. The Iron Giant is up against Peter, the Earthworm, and of course Warcry, the Boar. Two of the gurus say, without its arm by itself. And it's time to make it count. Have to protect Joy Boy one last time. But then we get to hear something that was been said in the background of this. And it's Vegapunk speaking on about Gold D. Roger. And people are still confused, like, Gold D? What does he mean, Gold D? And Vegapunk explained what the D was, but nobody heard it because the signal was out. So his conclusion, he is now summarized, and he is now all ready for the vision or the view of the future is going to be in the next chapter. This has been one hell of a chapter. This ride is coming along. Egghead being inside of there has been one hell of a ride. York believes that York is the last surviving member of the Stellas because Atlas was knocked so hard in the head by Atlas knocked Lilith so hard inside the head that the signal was lost. So York, of course, once this is over with, believes that she has a spot as one of the Marie Joie 20, one of the celestial dragons, which will not come true. But the next chapter is going to be one hell of a chapter as we get the escape finally happening. We have Mars sent flying back, so he's not inside the picture. One of the gurus say. We have Ethan, who just got blown up by Atlas, who has to recover now. We have both Warcry and Peter facing off against the Iron Giant. Then we have Jay Garcia on the ship, who's probably going to get knocked off really soon. We have the escape route finally up, and it's time to set sail. But for right now, please, thank you, Atlas. R.I.P. You did great. What a sacrifice. From start to finish, we have started with Lilith, we're ending with Lilith. You brung us into here. You're walking us out of here. You're going to be a scientist, a part of the Straw Hat crew. You're going to be able to work along the Usopp and Frank. You're going to be able to work along the lines of a Stella, of a Vegapunk, of Lilith. This is going to take their creativities to new heights. What weapons will Usopp be able to make now that they have a professional scientist on there? What's going to happen with everything that Frankie now has that Frankie now does? Lilith will be joining this crew. Lilith has to join the Straw Hat crew. Doesn't have to, but of course we know that Luffy wanted 10 people up on the ship as his crewmates. He has his 10. Lilith does not make that cut. So what will Lilith be doing? Will Lilith join Yamato after they get set out to sea as Yamato's guide? Will Lilith be able to stay on the Straw Hat crew? What's going to come of this? It's a lot of things going inside my mind that I'm worried about right now. But how are the Straw Hats going to get Jay Garcia off this ship in order for them to set sail and fully escape? It's go time now. I love seeing this. It is go time finally. And this right here is why we read One Piece, for the adventure and the action that they have coming towards us every single time. I can't wait to see what comes up next. This is 12 of the 1216 podcast, bringing to you another banger. So please hit that like button, spam that subscribe button if you can, and make sure you share this with all your homies and comment down below. What do you think is going to happen in chapter 1121? This is 12. Signing off.